Hey there, welcome back to Creepy Encounters. In today's video, the man creeping behind the trees. Two men tried to follow me home from the grocery store in broad daylight. Every summer, with a few friends, we take a trip to the seaside of France for about a week. Last year we decided to go to Hossegor on the southwestern coast to go surfing, but ended up in a small touristic village called Molietz at an hour from where we were supposed to go because of a reservation mess up. The week was going okay until the last 3 days of the trip, but the story I'm going to tell is the last nights. So the past 2 days we had been in trouble with the police and a few other tourists because of some misunderstandings over a pack of cigarettes. We had spent the last 2 nights stressing and trying to cool things off, and therefore we thought the last night we spent there couldn't be as bad as those two, and it couldn't possibly be as we were leaving the next day very early in the morning, so we had only planned to go to a restaurant for dinner with some friends we had met there to celebrate the trip. The dinner was going great, we were all having fun, and as time passed by it started getting dark. Towards the end of the meal, my best friend Dennis, who was driving us home the next day, thought it was best for him to leave early and not drink too much so he could sleep as soon as possible and be in the best shape for the long drive that was coming. He left about 15 minutes before the rest of the group, while we stayed and drank a bit more. We paid the check, and as soon as I got up from my chair, I received a message from Dennis. "Call me, there's a guy following me." Here's what happened. Dennis had to pass through a caravan parking lot and a golf to get back to the residence in which we had rented a house. While he was in the parking lot, he noticed someone behind him that was about his size, 1m70, with a hood and a cap on. At first he didn't think anything of him, as the village was actually quite touristic and there were a lot of people usually passing by the parking lot. But when Dennis stopped to pee on a tree, he had a glimpse of the guy behind him stopping and hiding behind another tree a few feet back. And as soon as he got walking again, the guy stepped out from behind the tree and started following him again up to the golf. As Dennis got there, he was a bit creeped out, especially since at night the golf is completely dark, only lit by the moonlight, and empty of people. He stopped again for a second to light a cigarette and checked if the guy was still behind him. Once again, the guy stepped out of the path and hid behind a tree until Dennis started walking again. That's when he understood he was in danger. The guy wasn't physically imposing, and so Dennis thought it was weird he was so confident in following him, maybe because he was holding on to a knife or a gun. Nevertheless, Dennis kept walking and acting as if he hadn't noticed anything, although the guy was following him again and sent me the message, "Call me, there's a guy following me." As soon as I picked up, he talked loudly to try and scare off the guy by saying, "Hey, you're at the golf with the other 8? No problem, I'll be there in a minute." Even though we were 5 and absolutely not at golf, which was terrifying for me, but it was clever because it made me understand he wasn't joking and where he was. I swore to him everything was going to be okay, that I would be there in 5 minutes, and told him to be careful and safely try to go home. As soon as I hung up, I started running towards the golf and explained very briefly to my friend that Dennis was in trouble and we had to get to the golf as soon as possible. Meanwhile, when I hung up, Dennis put the phone back in his pocket and kept walking. He took a glance back and saw the guy was still a few meters behind him. He took a last puff of the cigarette he had lit 2 minutes before, then threw and started running towards the residence. As he was running, he took a look back and saw the guy started running too. It lasted for about 5 minutes before he got in front of our house, which was empty. When he got there, he stopped for a second, looked back one last time. The guy was about 10 meters behind him, in the middle of the alley, immobile, and then went to hide behind one of the cars that were on the side of it. As soon as Dennis saw that, panicked, he barged into the house, locked the door with difficulty, grabbed the biggest knife he could in the house and waited on the couch facing the entrance to the house, which was a glass canopy. When me and my friends got there, he was scared but unhurt. He explained everything to us, and then we went looking for the guy in a group of 4 people. The neighbors hadn't seen anyone other than us, and even though we got to the residence at first in separate groups, at different times and through the 2 different entrances, we didn't see anyone coming out of them. He had completely disappeared. Nothing was stolen, even though we had left clothes to dry outside of the house, and nobody was hurt, so we didn't call the police. But warned the neighbors, and me and 2 others stayed up all night outside to look out for the guy, as he had seen where we lived and we were afraid he would return during the night. Dennis had been lucky. We never knew what were the intentions of this guy or if he was hiding something that gave him the advantage over my friend. Furthermore, he didn't even try to get into the house, and good for Dennis because there was another entrance to the house. Another glass canopy that led to one of our friends' rooms and which had not been correctly closed. We couldn't even understand what he did. If he wanted to steal from Dennis or murder him, he could have done it 2 separate times. When he went to pee and when he lit his cigarette. But he didn't, so what did he want? Who was he? Where did he go? I don't think we'll ever get any answer. We can only hope he never did anything to anyone and was arrested if he did. We didn't call the cops back then, because we had trouble with them the past 2 days because of the problem with the pack of cigarettes I talked about before. Also, after those 3 days that had gone wrong, we just wanted it to end, go home and sleep. I regret not calling them now that I think about it, but it's too late now and I hope this guy hasn't been creeping on anybody since. We were all extremely tired the next day, and the drive that was supposed to be 5 or 6 hours long took 10 hours to complete under the heavy summer heat. But we all got home safely, slept well, never had any problems of that sort since, and now we laugh about it. To conclude, I would advise you never to walk alone at night in places you don't know much about. There are crazy and weird people everywhere, and a calm night can quickly turn to a nightmare if you don't watch out. This happened a couple days ago and I just remembered I'm in this sub and figured y'all would like to hear this. For reference, I'm 25F, pretty small in stature. This happened outside the grocery store by my house around 4 to 5 p.m. It's like a 5-minute walk and I go to this plaza all the time. I've had occasional sketchy encounters in my city, but it's typically a populated area and I usually feel safe. I was crossing the grocery store parking lot and had my headphones in. I walked past a car with its headlights on, and my gut feeling / internal voice told me to pay more attention to my surroundings. I took out one of my earbuds and reached the sidewalk. Not 30 seconds later, as I was walking past a vacant building and out of the parking lot, I noticed a guy in a black hoodie leaning against the wall, kinda hiding behind the corner. I don't know why, but I just became hyper-vigilant in that moment. I took both earbuds out now, and picked up my pace toward the main road so I could cross. Glanced behind my shoulder and my stomach dropped when I saw the guy in the black hoodie, and another guy as well, both heading my direction. Keep in mind, this was sort of rush hour and there was a decent amount of traffic, and people at the grocery store and nearby gas station. But nobody was in the immediate vicinity. I jaywalked to the median in the main road, cause I wasn't about to waste time at the crosswalk. I was standing on the median, waiting for the next lane of traffic to come to a full stop, and when I looked behind me again, they were also crossing the road, directly behind me. I said frick it and weaved through traffic to get across quickly. Once I got across, I started walking as fast as I could without looking like I was running. My backpack was full of liquid detergent, so it was heavy and I felt myself starting to panic. I approached a vacant church parking lot, not even 2 minutes from my house, and when I looked behind me they were still following, rather quickly. I picked up my phone and started a phone call to my roommate, and started talking loudly before she even picked up. "Hey, I'm coming home now. Yeah, I'm in the church parking lot." As soon as she picked up I lowered my volume and quickly told her what was happening and where I was. I was so close to home, but didn't want to leave them there. When I looked behind me again, thankfully they had turned the other direction. I noticed they were heading behind the church, which is just a fenced-in dead end. I highly doubt that was their intended destination, and I know I only shook them by performing the loud phone call. My roommate stayed on the phone with me. As soon as I was out of their line of vision, I took off running the whole way home and didn't see another sign of them. Granted, I also haven't left my house since then. I told one of my other roommates about it and he said they were probably just homeless guys trying to ask you for a cigarette. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.